Good morning. It is Friday morning and you are joining me here on the Sales Step Up, which, I mean, come on, we've done like 7 days now. That's like pretty exciting. 7 days live every morning at 9 o'clock. You've made the effort to be here. I've made the effort to be here, and we've looked at what we can do to get excited about selling for the day. And I have been saying for the last few days that today is going to be a little bit different. And it really is, because today I have a super special guest with me. I know, we're doing guests and everything. So a big giant welcome to my guest today, which is a guy called Geoff Nicholson. Now, just before I bring him on, I want to tell you a little bit about Geoff. I've known Geoff for a number of years now, and he is an absolute superstar. He is inspiring. He has some really great words of wisdom. He's traveled the world and met some crazy people as well. So I'm really hoping he's going to tell us some of those. But most importantly, I was really excited about bringing him on today because I knew that he would have some hints, tips, and advice about his success mindset that he actually teaches. And for us as salespeople, that is super exciting. So here we go. Big hand. Here, Geoff is joining us there now. Hi, Geoff.
Hello. You all right? Morning.
Hi. It's great to see you. And actually, we've got some people joining us live, which is amazing. So hello, Mark. We've got Mark Orr with us. We've got Rachel with us. Hi, Rachel. If you haven't met the lovely Geoff, then this is your chance. And if you are joining us live, then remember, it's not all about me. You get to ask your own questions as well. So pop some questions in there and let's put him on the spot. So a giant welcome, Geoff. It's brilliant to see you today.
Yeah, lovely to see you as well.
And I've given you like a little tiny flavour of like hello there, but really I know that nothing I could say really encompasses your background, which is like massive. So it'd be really nice. Could you just tell us, especially for those people who don't know you, a little bit about your background and what's led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose my initial background is I was always supposed to work for the family business. That was kind of like what I expected to do. And for those of you who are old enough and remember fizz bombs, that was my grandfather. So I was supposed to work in the family confectionery business. However, being 13-year-old and living in and working in a factory and then hitting real life was very, very different. So I've kind of like, I did that. I've been a courier. I've been a printer. I've been a production manager. Doing quality control, IT, I've done all sorts of stuff. And then due through to my, I guess, life experiences, one of the things that then kicked up was the fact that I then suffered an illness that then brought me into this realm of coaching. And I've never, ever, ever looked back.
And I'm not joking when I say you've traveled the world, because you've been all over the place and you've worked with some amazing people, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always, as well as when I started this road, despite the fact of not being like that when I was at school, because I'm dyslexic and I hate learning and all of that sort of stuff. When I came into this bit and I kind of like my second wind of life, the passion of learning from some of the best in the world was just very much motivated me.
And your big thing, like the thing, is your success IQ mindset. You know, I even put it in big letters at the bottom because it's like this, when you first talked to me about this, I was like, oh my God, it's like amazing. Do you want to tell us just a bit about that? Because I think in sales especially, a lot of people who are joining us here on the stream today, they're in sales. And sales success is so linked to our mindset. So tell us about the success IQ mindset.
Well, I think the idea of success IQ came to me when I was going through my illness. I was ill for 6 years. It culminated to a moment when I left the house to commit suicide. And it became very much, in that moment, became this very much determinating factor of how do I take my life from where it is now to transform it into something else. And I didn't just want to make it where it was. I wanted to make it what I would say exceptional. You've heard me talk about that all the time. And what I started to identify is there was common traits in me trying to get my life back into where it wants to be and more. And then when I started to work with clients, I started to notice there was a common thread because, we're all looking for success. And each and every one of us will have an idea of what success means, which is one of the key factors is you have to know what your personal definition is. I think too often what we're doing is we're pursuing someone else's version, or without really thinking about it, what looks good at success. You know, we see on Instagram all the time this image of what success means and people looking happy, but then when we sometimes get to the crux of it, they're not happy. They're, you know, they've taken 4 hours to take this one shot to make their life look great or whatever. And I think, you know, what we're pursuing our parents' idea of what success is. And what we have to really do is determine what success means to us. So as I started going down that route, I started to identify that if we're all looking for success, ultimately that comes to we want to be fulfilled and happy. You know, but right down to the crux of it, whatever we fill in that bucket, the end up thing is to be fulfilled and happy. So Success IQ really focuses on helping people understand and create the skill sets and strategies and ways of thinking to be able to go, okay, I want to have these things in my life. Now, you know, whatever area of our lives we're looking at, our lives moves and shifts. As we're moving through an area and we get better, we make a massive shift and we celebrate that and are able to really engage in that. And when I started to look at it, I started to create this acronym called SHIFT. And it's really, really simple. When you're looking at all these people, if we were able to be successful, be happy, and accomplish these areas of our lives, we are moving into that realm of success. So SHIFT stands for self. So what are we doing to ourselves? How's our self-confidence? How's our self-esteem? Because without that, and we always start with ourselves first, without that, if we're not confident, we won't go for those sales conversations. We won't have those conversations we need. If we don't feel good about ourselves, then the way that we communicate will possibly not be authentic or not feel real. And as human beings, we can read that like a book. We're triggered to understand that sort of thing. So we're not going for the opportunities. We're not doing the things that we need to do. So that's the S bit of SHIFT. Then we've got health. Well, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This is the engine that is going to take us to wherever we want to go. And if this is not right, then we're not going to be moving in, whether it's our energy levels, whether it's how we deal with emotions, whatever it is, we're not going to be able to deal with that effectively, because our emotional intelligence is vital for us to be able to read people in conversations and for us to be able to read the feedback that we're getting. If we're numb from that, we're probably going to have a conversation that isn't congruent with what the conversation needs to be to convert a sale or have a conversation or whatever it is. Then the I is income. So whether we like it or not, income makes life easier. It might not be money. It might not be the thing that is the root of happiness, but it does make life easier. So when we're looking at income, we're looking at, you know, from a business point of view, it's sales generated, targets reached, you know, how many clients we can get on board, that sort of thing. If you don't own a business, then it is, well, how much money am I making on my salary? Can I reach a bonus? Whatever it is. Of course, then we have debt and we have saving as well. So what are we saving and how much debt are we having? So in order to balance that out, if we are striving to have a happy, successful life, what we don't want to do is swimming in debt. So what we want to try and do is balance it out. So it's about identifying that. Then the F is family and friends. Now I'm dyslexic, so I can put 2 Fs in SHIFT. But it's basically choosing how are your relationships with that? Not everyone gets on well with their family, but making sure that the relations that you have with your family and friends is key, because again, that has a knock-on effect of how we show up. So it's about identifying that. Then we have time. So we've got 2 parts of time. Productivity. So are we being productive with the time that we have when we're in the office, or are we wasting it? Are we keep on doing the same things over and over again, expecting a different result? Or are we putting new strategies in place to be effective with the time slot that we have, and making sure that we're not spending, I'll let everyone into a little secret. thinking that you can burn the candle at both ends is not a superpower. What it means is that you're actually reducing your kind of like mental health in order to think that you are being productive. So it's about being productive on that. And then we have free time. What are you doing to disconnect from work and have fun? It is amazing, Vic, how many people I've spoken to that forget the fun aspect of what they are doing. It's crazy.
It's really hard as well, because I think it was really interesting as well what you're saying about, like, you know, sort of work, like burning the candle at both ends. And I know that, you know, one of my things is always that, you know, I always say that I'm not, you know, I might not be the smartest person in the world, but I'll work really hard.
Yeah.
And actually that really is like a mentality where you just think, well, if I just work really hard, then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And actually that's really not true. And certainly since running my own business, that's been one of the big learnings for me, because when you are out there on your own, there's always something else to do. You're never finished, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So you can work as hard as you like. You can just run yourself in the ground, but it's not actually going to make you successful.
No.
And the other thing is that, interestingly, it's, you know, when you are working so hard, quite often the thing that you drop is that fun bit.
Yeah.
And really, if it's not fun, then what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exactly. And I think is because we don't, or some people don't put the same level of importance in their personal stuff as they do the work. And if you love doing what you're doing, it's a sort of blend, very, very easily blends in. But what you have to understand is that whether you have set up a business or whether you are, you know, enjoy sales and are getting sales, is the family is the thing that keeps you motivated. It's the thing that keeps you going. You know, when I've got, you know, like all of us, when we have bad times, it's the family that come in and go, okay, what's going on? Can we support you? And unfortunately, I see time and time again that people who want to be successful and are doing it all for the right reasons, but are disconnected, they forget part of the most important thing, which is the thing outside of work. Because as much as we love work, or we love our sales, or we love what we're doing, it's not the be all and end all. And speaking from someone who used to work like that and ended up losing 6 years of his life, I'm speaking from experience that it doesn't have to be like that. You can still be effective without thinking that you have to work the old sort of command and control type approach to stuff. It doesn't need to be like that.
And I think you talk a lot about building your exceptional life as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah. Just a big hello to some people who've joined us. Hi, and we've got Tiana, and we've got Sarah who's joined us as well. Big hello. Welcome to the stream. And if you've got a question for Geoff, stick it in the comments. So Geoff, I mean, you talk a lot about building your exceptional life as well. That's really when you're working with groups of people or you're working with individuals, you know, it's a really holistic approach that you go with, and it's really about getting people to think about, well, what does that exceptional life look like? And, well, I was interested to ask. I thought, I've got him on. He can't run away. Tell me about your exceptional life. What does your exceptional life look like, and what are you sort of like, you know, building to with that?
I think in its shortness, it's to have a free and flexible lifestyle. That's for me. Now, for many people listening to that, it's like, well, what the hell does that mean? But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what. I don't have to explain it. All I have to do is live it and pursue it and that sort of thing. But ultimately, for me, an exceptional life involves helping people around the world, you know, having great friends around me, and having fun, using sense of humor. You know me, I like a good laugh, and making sure that I can support my family throughout my legacy and throughout theirs. So there isn't anything, you know, to some people will go, well, hang on, that's not exceptional, but it would be to me. And that's the bit that matters. You know, I've worked with clients who are exceptional. Now, don't get me wrong, exceptional does include an Aston Martin sitting on the drive. Of course, you know, I'm British. It's
obviously,
it goes without it. But what it does mean is that I've had people who, you know, do cover a huge amount of money, and, you know, who do want a boat in the Caribbean or whatever it is, and that is fine. But once they identify with what exceptional is, and then it's right, well, how do we get to that point? And I think the other thing's important is the reason why I use exceptional is because I've had conversations with people where they go, but that's not possible. And I went, well, why is it not possible? And part of it is because we've been brought up to this belief that we can't have the great things. Now, don't get me wrong. It's hard work. You've got to graft. It's not sit in the lotus position, close your eyes, and everything's going to come to you. It doesn't work like that. But what is important is that once you identify with what it is, then you know what you have to do to go and get it. And part of that is when we look at that with the philosophy of what Success IQ is, it's then going, right, let's get to work, let's create the plan, and let's put the actions in place, because this might take some time to do. And I don't believe that whether you are 25 years old or 85 years old, you still can't reach for that exceptional life. Sometimes you may just have to work a little bit harder, but safer. But it's just, you've got to do the work to do it. So for me, exceptional ultimately is about having fun, having freedom and flexibility. That's really what it falls down.
I love that idea as well of like, it doesn't like just whatever, it's like whatever you want kind of thing. And one of the, when, you know, I think I always remember from corporate, now I'm sure you might be the same, you know, we used to set SMART goals, you know, and it, you know, the A in that was achievable. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is having come out in the entrepreneurial world, a lot of people like ditch the A. Just ditch the A. We're not going for achievable. We are just shooting for the stars. And I remember kind of going, oh, okay. And I think that really ties in with that whole piece around, you know, what is it you really want? What is it, you know, where do you really want to get to?
I think the other thing is for me, I ditched the R, which was realistic. Because realistic is determined by the mindset that you are currently setting those goals at. So I use relevant, because if it fits in with your life, then that's very different. If you use realistic, if you, like when I was going through clinical depression, realistic to me looked very, very different than I am going through now. So to have a relevant goal, so for me, for example, during the dark times was, you know, to have the health back, that was like, yep, that's definitely relevant. Is it realistic? Well, based on how I was feeling, and, you know, some specialists said that I could be ill for 30 years plus. No, it wasn't realistic, because so then what I would have done is I would have fallen short in even setting those types of goals, because I've fallen into the trap of the dangerous word of realistic. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't think that you're going to be able to learn to fly, breathe underwater, or anything like that. But I know, sorry. I mean, there's many things we can do, but that's possibly not one. But you've got to sort of put it to the ground and go, okay, can I achieve this? And achievable, you know, words are a powerful thing. You know, success is a powerful word that some people go, I can't do that because I don't have the brains, or I don't have the education, or I haven't been born in the right postcode. And that's utter BS. All it means is you just got to, I would have said something else if we're on a different channel. But
you might get me in trouble with LinkedIn.
But, you know, it just very much depends on how we do things.
A couple of great comments coming in as well from Sarah. If I just flick that up on sign. So it's all about enabling us to shine. Life's too short not to. And also a great point on the R, Geoff. Relevant is so brilliant. I think that's some great great feedback there. Thank you for that, Sarah. And if you are watching the show, then remember you can comment, and I will put it on for Geoff. I don't know how to get rid of that now, but there we go.
Thanks,
Sarah. I'm going to have for the rest of it, or until someone else comments. Okay, so there we go. There we go. Got that's it there now. All right. So obviously this year's been a really interesting year. Do we say interesting? I think there's been a few small challenges along the way. And I know that one of the things that I've really found is that with the teams that I'm working with, they have dealt with different challenges this year than what they've had before. They're maybe dealing with working away from their team, working from home. You know, some people who are maybe like working and living even just from a bedroom, never mind like, you know, a house or a flat or whatever. and business keeps going, so the salespeople I work with, they still have to sell, and they've had some really unique challenges around that. What have you found with the people that you're working with? What are the big challenges you've seen and how have you supported them in getting past those?
Yeah, I mean, interesting year is definitely an understatement. So it's been interesting because there's been both positive and negative, obviously, links to it. So I would say the negative ones are obviously the mental health, the effect on, all of a sudden businesses drying up, or they are at the fault of the domino effect. They've gone into sort of emergency mode and they're waiting for payments from their client because their clients are waiting for their clients, and helping them deal with that mentally. A lot of it has been helping them understand that they have to focus on what they can control, not the stuff that they can't. Because I think in times like this, you just go into emergency panic mode and you just pull in. And when you go into panic, your brain is immediately looking for all of the things that highlight emergency. So you're looking at all of these things and going, well, that needs to get done, and that needs to get done, and then all of a sudden, as your brain is just going, I cannot cope with all of this stuff. And I understand the emergency response. I can't say even with all the skills I had, there wasn't blips in my time when I went, wow, okay, I need to do something about this. But I think that for me, the key thing is always going back to what can I control on, because what I can control on, I can focus on. And then when you can focus on that, you actually can start doing things that help you move forward. And there's a great lesson I learned with one of my mentors is, and even if you can't move forward, lean into it. So at least put some sort of forward pressure into the situation to be able to start thinking about it. The other thing is when you start managing that and managing the stress levels, your creativity will start to come back. Because when you are creative, you can think of ideas like, well, I've never thought of doing it that way. We just have to look at the, pubs that are all of a sudden delivering food, or, for the first time since I was probably about 13 years old, we had milkmen coming down the street delivering bread and orange and all sorts of stuff. So, during those challenging times, we become very creative if we can manage the space between our ears to reduce the noise and go, okay, what is it I can focus on? And I think also that's a great life lesson, is don't just think of it because it's a COVID thing. Start using it on a day-to-day basis. What are you panicking about, flapping about? What are you sort of, worrying about? All of these things, but actually, what is it that you can control? We've had some great examples over the year. Brexit, COVID. We've been hit pretty hard over the last couple of years.
Killer hornet things.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to them? Literally, we never heard nothing about them. It's like, I'm really worried it's gone a bit quiet about that. Do they just not want to tell us?
No, I know, exactly. But there's also been some benefit from it if we're going to look at both sides of the coin. And I don't think ever, for a lot of people, not for everyone, but for a lot of people, they would never have experienced the time when they've actually been able to step off the treadmill. Mm-hmm. Because they've been forced into it. It hasn't been necessarily a matter of choice, but to be able to step off the treadmill and kind of like reassess things. I've had clients come on and go, I actually have now identified that I'm not spending enough time with the kids. Or I've realized that I'm working on this project without having any other thing that I've really been thinking about. And I actually have stopped and pivoted. And the stop, the pause, should we say, is a great opportunity just to reassess. Am I moving in the right direction? And do those sort of things. So I think most of it's been a negative, don't get me wrong, but there has been benefits from that if we have had the self-reflection and the ability to remove the panic and just focus on what we want to do.
It's interesting as well, because I think I would definitely agree about that. And I think, I'm fascinated all these times on. Turns out, like, my husband and I still get on. Like, who knew? But there is that whole thing where, it's because you've got more time together, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I think that there has been a degree with that. And, for me, it's definitely meant that I've made changes in my business. I think, we've all done a bit of the pivot panic, I've got to flex what we're doing. But, there's some real benefits around that. And, certainly for me, the way that I'm working with my clients now, I feel is probably in the majority of cases, especially for the consultancy work I do, more effective because I am more available to them, because all of a sudden I'm available in little chunks here and there, rather than you get me for a day and then you don't see me for a little while. So these changes I think have sometimes been helpful. What changes have you seen or made in your business over this last year?
I think for me, one of the big ones is it was looking at everything and simplifying things. I regularly sort of experiment with stuff and put processes and systems in place. Sometimes too much, because I can get so excited about a new process that's going to save me. I start looking almost at Olympic level. It's going to save me a minute here and a minute there. But looking at those sort of things and simplifying systems, looking at, all my brand sites and consolidating them into one, looking at different programs I could create, repackaging stuff. So it's been about looking at how can I shave time off that actually allows me to give me more freedom and the flexibility that I'm pursuing anyway.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who've really focused in on how can I make this easier? How can I make it better? And I think the changes in technology have helped with that as well. I think that, some of the technology is just fast tracked so much.
And it's forced you to look at it that way as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of companies that I've worked with who've gone, no, we'll never do satellite offices, or we'll never do that sort of thing. And all of a sudden they're now coming to me going, do you know what? We can do this now. We don't have to have people in the office all the time, which means we can shrink our main site down and actually have. Now, of course, then you've got to think about your staff. Can they cope with working satellite? Because as I'm sure many of us have experienced, working from an office to working from home can be challenging. And it's probably been the biggest challenge for me, because I love doing content creation and brainstorming in a cafe. And I have to be honest, apart from seeing the odd people in my family, I probably haven't left my office since March. So but considering I was stuck in the house for 4 years, this is a walk in the park. But, but I've also, that connection of people, and Zoom has allowed me to, to connect with people, like doing like this, or having my mastermind groups online. It doesn't stop you from doing it. And I think also it brings up the good point that for those people who are, we'll just wait until COVID's gone and then life will return. You've got to jump on the technology wagon, because if you don't embrace that, your competition is just going to fill the void really, really quickly.
I think definitely. I've seen that with some of my clients. Some of my clients have really just ran with it, and some who've been a little bit more reticent and been a bit like, it's going to go back. It's going to go back to where it was. And I don't think it ever is. Sarah's just coming in there as well. That's a really long comment. I'll tell you what, let me read it, because it's not all the way on there. So I think some people need more time to adapt to change than others. Some people went into it and changed really quickly, but other people had to have more time to get into their shell, get into their approach as they got used to the new landscape.
Totally, yeah.
I think that's so valid as well. I think, people really, have had to respond to this in different ways.
Absolutely.
What would you say? One of the things I was really excited to get you on for is because I'm all about three things. You know me. I'm all three things. What three things? What quick tips? What can you change today? And this is because I have very little patience. So
at least you're honest.
I'm really honest. Just give me something that's going to work right now. And I think that, the pro and the con of that is, the pro on it is give me something to try and I'll try it. I suppose it's that thing of failing fast. The con on it is that I'm always looking for a shortcut. So Geoff, one of the reasons I got you on here was because I thought I can get some shortcuts off Geoff, because today, right now, there will be salespeople all over the world who are sat at their PC, or they're sat in front of Zoom, or they're sat about to pick up the phone. And, it's really about their mindset as to how successful they're going to be in many ways.
Yep.
So what I would love from you is your 3 best hints, tips, shortcuts for success that you can give me and all the salespeople and sales managers and everyone, and then really everyone who's out there right now. So no pressure.
Okay. So I'll share the top 3. And I think is because, whether you're a salesperson or anything, the first place to start is you, because, how you think and everything else is going to be the thing that motivates you or demotivates you. It's going to be the stumbling block or the motivator. That's what it's going to be. So I teach something, and I certainly learned it through my experience. Number 1 is about being positively selfish. So what I mean by that is many of us have traveled in an aeroplane, the oxygen mask has come down, and the rule is that you have to put your mask on you first. Now, most people, if you've got your loved ones next to you, would immediately go, not a hope in heck, I'm going to stick it on my children next to it. But that ends up being a detriment to you and them, because, the unfortunate could happen, basically. But if we take that as a life lesson, how many times are we giving someone else our air? How many times are we actually handing that over? So being positively selfish, because selfish has that connotation of it's all about me. The only one that's going to achieve your sales targets, who's going to have your level of happiness, who's going to have a great relationship with customers and family and everything else, is you. So therefore, what you have to do is have to think about getting your stuff in order so you can be at your optimal best. So therefore, you can perform at your optimal levels. So if you are able to do that, then what you are doing is you're increasing sales, you're feeling positive, you're able to have those conversations with your clients, your prospects, you're able to feel confident in having those cold calls, which, many people don't like, because you're going in there in a very, very different level. If you're not able to control how you feel, then actually what you're doing is you're going in at a disadvantage. And no salesperson likes to be at a disadvantage.
Never.
Never. So what you've got to think about is, if you are a sales professional, you are a sales professional. You're a professional sales athlete. So you have to treat your body and your mind the same way as you would treat as an athlete would. Because in order for you to get the cup, you've got to be at the best level. And so positively selfish for me, and anyone can do it, you just have to start thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to get myself to the best place? It could be you need to do more learning. It could be that you have to all of a sudden look at different books and do some personal development. It's something that you could literally do right now in order to get you to the place. The second one is what I call bookending your days. So for me, the key thing is if I start my day right, it's going to move right. We've all lived with that analogy of, like, my parents used to go, it comes in threes. So if you have a bad day, you're kind of like psychologically waiting because you've been programmed to go, right, that's one issue. Okay, where are the other 2? So there's a different level. But if you can start your day right by feeling positive, feeling good, giving yourself some energy, what you're able to do is, one, you're able to deal with challenges better. You're releasing endorphins better, and you're managing the way you feel so you can go into situations far more effectively. Again, everything's between your head. The things that limit you, the things that move you forward, is what is going on. And for me, the skill, I guess, that I learned through this was I was able to deal with my emotions in a far, far better way if someone came to me and said something, or because I wasn't very good at dealing with feedback. Many of us aren't. But if we can deal with that feedback, if we can deal with that rejection in a far more confident and competent way, then we can just go, okay, next call. But if we're unable to deal with that, and it affects us on a deeper level, on an identity level, then all of a sudden we're a lot more nervous and cautious in doing the next call. And if your job is multiple cold calls that day, that could be a thankless task. And it's an awful lot of rejection. So it's being able to start your day right and psych yourself up so you can go into that. The nighttime bit is make sure you're getting your sleep. Make sure you're getting your 7.5 hours sleep, because that is going to re-energize you. It's going to fuel you. It's going to make you feel good. There is no benefit in you having a couple of hours sleep, which is a constant conversation I have with my two teenagers, not teenagers anymore, actually, my children at the minute. But sleep is vital. Now, there's different strategies for you to use when you start your day. So exercise, journaling, reflection, meditation, all of the things that people are going to roll their eyes up going, oh my God, he said the meditation word. But there's a reason why nearly every single person I have interviewed on my podcast has mentioned meditation, reflection, and the key thing is knowing what they have got planned for that day. So they plan at the end of the day. So when they start the next day, they already know what they are doing. I don't know about you, Vic, but when I first started working, it went right up to when I was a manager as well, is I would get in generally 5 minutes before I was supposed to start, probably getting up about 15 minutes before I was supposed to get to work. And I would sit at my desk and go, right, okay, what have I got planned today? And then the phone would ring, and then people would come in with problems. And all of a sudden, as you're sitting there going, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And because we are reactive, we will just deal with the situation that comes at the time. Successful people are proactive. Mm-hmm. They know what they're going to do. They have a very, very clear, defined idea of what it is that they want to do, whether it's their day-to-day work or whether it is their life. They have a very, very clear plan of action, which goes to the final thing, which is you need a plan. If anyone wants to be successful, whenever I do a presentation, my first question is, who wants to be successful? All of us, everyone, 95% of the room, the other 5% are too shy. And then during the conversation, the next question is how many people have got a plan of what they want to do within the next 12 months? And all of a sudden the hands go down. How many people review that plan? The hands go down. So we're probably looking at in most times in a room, we're talking about 3% of the room have a plan and look at their plan. The next question is how many people go on summer holidays and how many people plan for that summer holiday? Everyone's hand goes down. Now, I remember years and years ago, I read something that said more people plan for their summer holiday than their own personal life. Now, the reason why they do that is because they want a great summer holiday. Yeah. They want to achieve everything they want to achieve. But surely life is more important. I mean, exceptional means the best summer holiday you're ever going to have. So if you need to put the same amount of energy and effort into your life as you would do a summer holiday. And I think realistically, every single one of them can be done and implemented straight away. It doesn't mean you're going to be ninja hot and supremely, as like that lady said before, it takes time. And success is not a quick route. Happiness is not something that, I believe we can be happy without having everything we want, because happy is a state of mind. But it's about making sure that we're putting in as much effort as we want. There was an interesting thing from Will Smith, and he said the amount of people that say they want to be successful in sales and everything, but they're not going to do the work that is required to be successful.
He says some amazingly insightful things as well.
Yeah.
He is someone who's really worked on to get where he is actually, and it's done a lot of work on himself, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I know from seeing different things. He's done stuff with Tony Robbins and everything. I think, he works hard. I mean, you kind of like sit there and look, and you look at The Rock. And, he never, ever seems, if he's watching this, please come on the show. He never, ever stops. And he's got, his tequila, he's got his work, he's got his workouts, but the energy that he puts in comes out the other side. So it's energy, it's correlation. If you put a huge amount of energy in, the right type of energy, then the results is going to be even better.
Absolutely. I think it's I think the other thing is as well, I think it was really interesting what you're saying there about being set up at the beginning of the day as well, because I've got to be honest, I'm not great in the morning, but when I used to have a job, I mean I've got a job now, but
when you worked.
Yeah, I used to go in really early in the morning, and quite often I'll be at my desk at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And the reason for that was because I knew that if I did that couple of hours before anybody walked in, I could clear the decks, I could get ready, I could be by 9 o'clock, I was just on fire,
Yeah.
And I think it's once you get into a rhythm of doing that, I think that's the other thing. It's about, I know you talk quite a lot about consistency, but, getting into a rhythm of the consistent approach to how you work. Yeah. I think that's so valuable, because I think that then it becomes second, you don't need to think about it anymore. It's that whole thing about forming habits, isn't it? Yeah. And it's really forming a habit that's setting you up for the day ahead as well.
Yeah, I think you have to understand. I mean, success is not a quick race. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and depending on how you do it. And when you get to the finishing line, you look at it and go, actually, I would like to change this for that and everything else. So it's an ongoing thing. And I think you look at people who are, doing maybe exactly what you want to achieve. Yeah. And it's because they are consistent. It's because they are prepared to do the work. And I always describe habits, and I was having a conversation with my son just the other day that, if you imagine going through a field and you see a track, our natural way is, well, I'm going to go that way because it's the path of least resistance. It's easy. But if you start walking a different way, or if you all of a sudden put a sign up and said, if everyone walks this way, please, we're protecting the path, please walk this way. What ends up happening is that becomes the more determined path. The other one starts overgrowing. So actually, all we've got to do is put the effort to move the energy over, and our brain wants to, it's always making connections. So the hard work in creating a habit is trying to teach your brain that there's another route to go. And that could be using, what I'm like with platforms and stuff. So that could be using something like Coach Me. So you put your habits on, you can get other people hold you accountable. It could be using something like ThinkUp, which is basically this brilliant app where you put in your, let's say affirmations or words of encouragement, and you can add music to it, and you can put it between your ears and just listen to that. So there's loads of different platforms that you can do, but you can go old school with your plan. I mean, I use something called the productivity plan. That's easy to say. I use the productivity planner, and literally all it has in the day is, what are your 5 most important tasks to do today? So, and it's like, okay, I can just need to do 5, but I'm like, I need to do 55.
You're so good with this. Geoff's a huge fan of journaling and in sort of really reflecting, because I know that we've talked a lot about journals and things. Yeah. And one of the challenges that I always have is if you give me a list that says what 5 things you have to do, I'm like, oh, I need to do those 5. Yeah. Oh, and these 97. Yeah, oh, well, I'll just put them on the bottom here.
Vic works with 5 cubed. That's how
yeah. I mean, so yeah, I know you're really big on that. I think the other thing about that is, one of the things that I'm really big on, especially when I'm working with salespeople, is I think that reflection is such a powerful tool. Yeah. And I know you were talking earlier on about reflecting at the end of the day. And I think that, especially for some of the roles that people are in today, I think reflecting at the end of the day, or even after a call or a meeting, can be so valuable, because I think that it's that moment of reflection that actually allows us to really quickly see, oh, you know what, if I'd done that differently, I'd have got a different result. Yeah. And I think that actually, sort of creating some sort of almost like a formalized structure where you say, every day, this is what I do. I think that is such a success habit. And, some of the best salespeople I know definitely utilize that.
You make a good point, because let's use the perfect example of many obstacles that come in people I work with, the CRM. The CRM is designed so you have conversations and you keep history of what's going on. So the next time you have that conversation, you can very quickly jump back to it, whether it is, oh, how's your mum doing? Or you mentioned that you wanted product A or whatever it is. So if you think of it from a business or sales managed journaling side, that is your perfect opportunity to go, okay, I'm going to reflect on this call. This what was going on. Let's move on. And, very quickly, our brain will not retain that conversation. If you're doing 50 calls in that day or whatever it is, you're not going to remember it. So you're far better to go. It depends as well as it depends on if you're working for a good company or a company, let's say, that perhaps could improve its processes, is, having that in their system where it's not, you've made a call, move to the next one. It doesn't matter. For me, that communication and that customer relations is key. So to write that stuff down before your next call is the vital thing. But a huge amount of, clients, past, present, and probably future, will kind of go, yeah, I've got a CRM. What's it do? What's it for? It's not
that's what the rest of the team uses.
But it's one of those things that it's like an accounts package. You want to get paid, so you keep your invoices up to date.
Yeah, you do. It's and I think it's that whole thing as well. I think it's like, what is your driver for doing something? Totally. And, your driver for your accounts packages, so you get paid. So what is your driver for reflecting on your sales calls? And, to me, the reason for that is because if you have a bad call, don't do 49 other bad ones.
No, absolutely.
Let's get better and then do
so therefore, what you've just done is a great example of not only reflection, but feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback. Yeah, so it's like that full circle of what did you do wrong? What did you say that you shouldn't have said? How did you word it? Because that is the skill that's going to turn you into a real professional, is understanding how to have that conversation. Like when I learned therapy skills, half of it was about conversation. And you would say something and go, damn it, I shouldn't have said it that way. And because you were steering the conversation into a therapeutic conversation. It's one of the reasons why I learned hypnotherapy, because language is so powerful, is the right words said at the right time, or the words that you think, and coaching conversations or questions asked at the right time to provoke and instill a response from that person. So language is everything. So to understand your language and how you communicate is massively powerful in the sales conversation.
I would so agree, and I think that it's the difference as well between like really setting yourself up for success with the language you're using, or actually really undermining your own proposition. As some people who've possibly had some time with me might. Geoff, I've distracted you because I got all excited. So I distracted you from our three. You told us about being positively selfish. Yep. You told us about bookending, and then I got you all sidetracked. So I don't want people to miss out. What was number 3?
It was the plan. It was get the plan. Yeah. So bookending your day is about the routines that you're introducing. Plan will be part of that, but you've got to make sure that you've got a plan of action, because without a plan, it's just human beings react based on when they hit the brick wall. Most people, that's how they live their lives. I'll change my career. I'll change this. I'll change that when they physically hit the brick wall. Successful people are proactive. So by doing a plan, you are being proactive in knowing what results, what goals, what sales targets, everything that you have, you can then start working and honing your skills and direction. So you're not wasting energy, time, and effort on something that's like, ooh, squirrel kind of like thing. I'm not saying a word about squirrels. We're not getting there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Geoff, this has been amazing. I really appreciate it, and I know that there's so many people who have come on today. There's some people who've talked to Sarah. Thank you so much for joining in. And Alison, I didn't share your comment about killer bees because I felt like we'd start having a conversation about killer bees. There's been Rachel here. There's been so many people here with us today. So a big thank you for joining us today, everyone who's tuned in. Geoff, how can people work with you and find out more about you? Because I know there's going to be people watching today who are like, like, okay, I need to know more about this guy. I need to go and stalk him on the socials and everything. So where should they come and stalk you?
Okay, so if you want to find out more about me, you can go on to geoffnicholson.co.uk. There is a link there to my podcast and all of those cool stuff. If you are wanting to work with me in building your plan, then there's a special offer because Victoria has nicely asked me to join the show. So if you go to kickmediocrity.com, there is information there about Success IQ Kickstart, which is a 3-session focused on getting you clear, getting you focused, and giving you your own personal success plan. So that is everything that they will need to know.
And we'll drop the links into the comments following this. So if you want to make sure you get notified about that, even just, if you put a little F in the comments or anything like that, it just means when I add that comment in after this stream, you'll get that notification. Geoff, today has been fantastic. What a way to end the week with some success stuff with yourself. It's been brilliant chatting today. So thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll be catching up really soon.
Thank you very much. You take care of yourself.
All right. See you soon. Wow, everyone, that was just like amazing, wasn't it? So I've known Geoff for forever, and like it's been so great actually having some time to sort of dig some of that stuff out of him, and really just make the most of his experience. So if you're going to go and start your sales day today, it's been a bit of a longer session, but I think it's been really worth it. And just remember those 3 key tips. Think about being positively selfish. Look after yourself. Set yourself up for success. Think about bookending those routines at the beginning and the end of the day, and make sure you've got a plan. I'd love to know how you get on with these. And I know Geoff would as well. So make sure you connect with him here on LinkedIn and go and follow his links. And absolutely go and check out his programs, because I can guarantee you're going to get some real change in your life. So if you're looking for that exceptional life, you know where to go. That's all from me for today. We will be back in our usual format on Monday at 9 o'clock, 10 to 15 minutes of sales excitement. So make sure you join me here live at 9 o'clock on Monday as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you then. Have a fantastic weekend.